Hey, board gamers, BJ from Game Gumbo here, back in the Gumbo pot, this time with another Kickstarter Lagniappe. We're taking a look at Legions of Kadmon, a game designed by Joshua Dharmawan. I'll tell you the story of how I met Joshua in just a second. But this is a Kickstarter project. I'm going to do just a quick high-level overview of what the game is about, and then I'll move right into some of the things that I liked about it, and then some of the things that were kind of a miss for me. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be a miss for you. These are pretty specific to my experience with the game. So let's get right to that table and see what's inside this box. All right, this is Legions of Kadmon, designed by Joshua Dharmawan. And I met Joshua at BGG fall of last year, all the way from Singapore. He came, had a booth. I was there for press day with Rob from the Board Boys. We're visiting all the different booths, and I saw this one with some interesting artwork, and it looked like either a deck builder or something to do with cards. And I like those kind of hand management deck builder type games. So I sat down for just a quick little demo and an interview, and we've stayed in touch, and he sent me this copy to look at. Now, this copy is not a Kickstarter preview. I'm not paid for this. This is not a review because I haven't played it enough, and everything could change between now and when the project comes out. You are a death summoner in the land of Morbidia, and this evil person Kadmon and all the legions are attacking Morbidia. But since you're a death summoner, you can attack evil with evil by grabbing the undead and horrors and all these different things and throwing them at those legions and trying to defeat Kadmon. And we'll do that through some innovations in the hand management system that I actually did like. So the game is going to be played competitively, not a two-player game. We'll have 2 players set up, and we're trying to collect as much of this blood, Ichor, I think they call it. And these are each worth a point. Whoever has the most at the end of the game is going to be the winner. The end of the game is triggered whenever this deck of what I call horrors, all the monsters, comes out, and then we'll move right to the final battle. Or when the final battle comes out and the main boss, the Kadmon, is defeated. And then at that point, we'll count up and see who's got the most points. The game is hand management, like I told you. Everybody starts out with the same hand of cards, these 4 basic cards. Each of these cards, they're silver, so you know that they're the basic cards. Each of these cards has power, in other words, combat and health. Each of them are a different type. For instance, this one's undead, and this one's a bunch of different ones. So they have different types of monsters. And some of them will have special powers on the bottom. So these are dual action cards. One of the things I did like it, because I do like dual action games. I like cards with dual multi-purposes. And this one is dual purpose. You're either going to play it so that it becomes somebody that you can use to attack the bad guys, or you're going to play it and discard it to the grave as a spell. And spells can do pretty powerful things like just doing direct damage to stuff, or all the different things that come in the game. So everybody starts with the same 4. How do you get more cards? Well, that's the interesting thing about this game. One of the things I did like about it. We're going to start each round by just following this little chart. We're going to skip Dawn the first time, but every time Dawn comes after that, these monsters will come out. Okay, so the first one, and we always have Kadmon. We always have the Shade, ethereal something, the fragment of the great evil. If I remember right, we always have those 2. The rest of them are random, including the fragment, are random in the deck, and when they come out, they'll immediately do something. So, for instance, in this particular case, this one makes you move one of your people, one of the cards that you've summoned, over to the other side. And so let's take a quick look at the player board, because that'll explain something. So the player board has basically your 3 actions, along with the wild that you can earn during the game, and then a spot for your cards. The cards that you summon out of your hand, called your vassals. Those are basically your army that you're using to attack the Legion or to attack the Sovereigns. That's the ruling class over here that works with Kadmon to keep the place Morbidia down. And so if you summon it, it's easy. You just summon the card, and you'll flip your little token. You start out with 1 of each of these: summon, cast, or invoke. Flip that summon token, play your card, and then now you've got something to be able to attack. At the start of each round, cards are going to come out. Couple cards, maybe 1 or 2 cards. They'll come up from the wilds. It's called the ambush, and you've got to deal with that one. So I've got this Moth Dweller. And, well, that's a bad thing. And it's got a 1 power attack, and it's got 2 health. So I'm playing this card out here as a summon, and then if I had a spell, I could cast it by flipping this cast token here, and maybe do a damage to it, and try to at least put some damage to it so I can knock it out later. The reason I want to knock these out, and this is the part of the system that I really enjoyed, and that is the hand management that you start out with. These hands, this is not a deck builder. They're not going to automatically come back to you. You're playing them here to attack the Legion, and or if you can get past the Legion and knock them all out, to attack the main baddie and collect the ichor that's here in this little pot. And those are points, of course. So I want to do extra damage to these guys and do it over to here so that I can get those points. And I get the cards that I defeat. So if my cards here at the end of the round, when we do the combat, defeat any of these cards, I'm going to get them back to my hand. So I'm trading in these basic cards for even better cards with better spells and better abilities that come out of this Wilds deck. So that was pretty clever and pretty innovative, and something that Mitchell and I enjoyed when we played this part. So instead of just starting with basic hand and then having some market and having some money that you have to try to buy cards, and they go to your discard, or maybe they go to you. Maybe you don't shuffle like an Aeon. There's all different ways of doing this. I thought this was kind of a clever way to do it. You actually have to fight the cards and then bring them into you. And isn't that pretty thematic? I mean, you're a death summoner, so it makes sense that you would call these creatures into your power so that way you can work toward the final battle. Okay, so the invoke part, the 3 parts of your turn are summon, putting out characters here on your board, casting any spells out of your hand if you have access to them, and invoking. And invoke is a special power. So if one of your cards, mostly from the legions, from the sovereigns here, if one of the cards has a special action that is available to play, then you can flip your invoke token and take that special action. And it'll be some, really cool game-breaking powers that can help you defeat the monsters. The other cool thing about the sovereign is the person who does the last damage to that sovereign, the one who finally defeats it, gets the sovereign into their hand. Now there's a limit. You can have up to 3 of these cards, what we call basic units, of your vassals, and only 1 sovereign. But these sovereigns give you access to even better abilities than the regular ones that you have. Now, as far as we can tell, when they go away, they're going to come to the tombstone. That's not necessarily up to the tomb, and that's not necessarily good, because Kadmon, the big bad, Kadmon gets access to the powers of the tomb, in addition to all the stuff that Kadmon's going to do to you. So, that makes Kadmon a pretty bad boss to try to defeat. All right, so we're just going to keep doing that. We're going to take all of our turns, and the other player will take all their turns, and the third player will take all their turns, and we'll keep passing until everybody passes. There's spells that you can play in between there, so maybe you want to leave that cast open so that I'll summon something, I'll play an invoke, maybe I'll leave the cast open just in case one of the other players wants to mess with me, or maybe one of the sovereigns wants to mess with me. I want to be able to, jump in and try to do something to stop that spell from happening. So there's a little bit of timing there that you have to deal with, and some strategy on that part. But once that's all done, we move to the combat. We'll total up our points from our cards and total up the points from the cards against us, and then we'll assign damage, destroying those cards that we can overcome with the life and taking those cards in our hand. Now, if something defeats one of the cards and it wasn't us, well, that card's just going to go to the graveyard. If the legions defeat our vassals, well, those cards are going to go to the graveyard. So you can't just Loki it by losing the battle and then getting these cards back in the hand. You need to defeat those and bring those the management. And you always want a vassal, because if at the end of the round, if you don't have a vassal, then your character, not you, but your character has died, and you got to take some penalties. You're going to lose a little bit of points. You're going to have to shuffle up some of the legions and put out some new stuff. So it's kind of a 2 steps forward, but then you got to take a step back because you didn't plan out to have enough vassals. And it can happen. For instance, this sovereign here is constantly moving your vassals over to the legion. So you're putting them out, and then they're forcing them over to the side to attack you right back. So you got to deal with that. And each of these have different powers. How many are there going to be in the final game? That's going to be the tough. That's why I don't do this as a review, because I just don't know what the final product is going to be. The version that we got had Kadmon and then 6 or 7 other sovereigns that we had to deal with, and then this whole stack of wild cards, which are basically just tons of different monsters with different powers. Okay. We've gotten to the final battle. Somebody has defeated Kadmon. Somebody gets bonus points for defeating Kadmon. We total up our points. Whoever has the most is the winner. And that's kind of just a high-level overview of how Legions of Kadmon is played. All right, so that's just a quick look at Legions of Kadmon and some thoughts about the things that we liked. We liked the innovative hand management system, the way that the cards came back to your hand. I like the story that it built up in having to fight these different bosses as you're going through. I liked all the variants in the cards and a lot of the spells. I had a little bit of trouble with some of the rulebook edge cases, some of the timing issues in the game, and then the theme just doesn't do anything for me. So to be frank, but I'm going to be interested in the project. I want to take a look at it as it goes through and see how well it does. I love supporting first-time creators like this, so good on Joshua. Really enjoyed meeting him at BGGCon. We had a great conversation. So let me know, is this the kind of theme that you like? That is something that you're interested in? Let me know in the comments below. If not, until next time, Laissez, le bon temps, rouler.